Hey everybody, I wanted to go over the part two from Marcus Garvey for why he was such a controversial figure. So today we're going to look at an excerpt from the autobiography of Malcolm X, where he talks about the influence of Marcus Garvey. And document B is actually from Marcus Garvey's autobiography himself. So let's read document A. Before we read it, let's take a look at the sourcing information at the bottom here. This is an excerpt from the autobiography of Malcolm X, published in 1964. This is well after Garvey. Remember, his death is around 1940, and his heyday is the 20s. This is from pages 1 to 6. Malcolm X was a political activist who was a strong advocate for black rights. He initially advocated for black separatism, but later moderated his views. He was assassinated in 1965. So he's directly influenced by Garvey's ideas. So here he says, "When my mother was pregnant with me, she told me later, a party of hooded Ku Klux Klan riders galloped up to our home in Omaha, Nebraska, one night. Surrounding the house, the Klansmen shouted threats and warnings at her that we had better get out of town because the good Christian white people were not going to stand for my father spreading trouble among the good Negroes of Omaha with the Back to Africa preachings of Marcus Garvey. My father, the Reverend Earl Little, was a Baptist minister, a dedicated organizer for Marcus Aurelius Garvey's UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association. Garvey, from his headquarters in New York City's Harlem, was raising the banner of black race purity and extorting the Negro masses to return to their ancestral African homeland, a cause which had made Garvey the most controversial black man on earth." So right here we see the word controversial. I want to take note of that, right? This cause, that's part of the question we're answering, right? Why was he controversial? His dedication to the cause of black purity and telling African Americans, go back to your ancestral area. My father believed, as did Marcus Garvey, that freedom, independence, and self-respect could never be achieved by the Negro in America, and that therefore the Negro should leave America to the white man and return to his African land of origin. I remember seeing the big, shiny photographs of Marcus Garvey. The pictures showed what seemed to be millions of Negroes thronged in parade behind Garvey, riding in a fine car, a big black man dressed in a dazzling uniform with gold braid on it. So right here, this whole section describes that picture we looked at with the 1920s, with Garvey riding in the car with two guards. And he was wearing a thrilling hat with tall plumes. I remember hearing that he had black followers, not only in the U.S., but all around the world. And I remember how the meetings always closed with my father saying several times, and the people chanting after him, "Up, you mighty race. You can accomplish anything what you will." All right, so for our questions, what type of document is this? Remember, secondary is written way after the time period, primary is at the time period, or by someone who is there. We're going to consider this primary because this comes from an autobiography, someone's words, someone who actually, had a connection to Marcus Garvey. When was it written? 1964. An autobiography is primary, even if he's not exactly there himself, his father was. Sourcing. What do you know about the author? Can you make any predictions about what he might say? So we know down here, right, Malcolm X himself advocated for black separatism, later moderated his views. He was assassinated, right? So Malcolm X tries to take Garvey's ideas and bring them into the 60s and has to change them because of the circumstances, right? My prediction would have been that Malcolm X would have really gave Garvey a glowing review and said that he inspired him. Close reading. According to Malcolm X, why was Garvey controversial? So we said that answer was right where the word controversial was, right? Right here, right? This is Malcolm X's answer. Harlow, I'm in the middle of doing something. All right. Close reading. Why do the pictures of Garvey make such an impression on Malcolm X? Think about that picture we saw. I mean, really, for the first time, it's a black man who, is exhibiting so much pride and self-respect and dignity, and really saying he can do whatever he wants. Right? It's dazzling. So it's not conservative, right? It's meant to grab the attention of people. All right. Let's take a look at document B. Marcus Garvey's autobiography. Sourcing wise at the bottom, right? This is an excerpt from Garvey's autobiography written in September 1923. My downfall was planned by my enemies. They laid all kinds of traps for me. They scattered their spies among the employees of the Black Star Line and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Our office records were stolen. Employees started to be openly dishonest. I had to dismiss them. They joined my enemies, and thus I had an endless fight on my hands to save the ideals of the UNIA and carry out our program for the race. My Negro enemies, finding that they alone could not destroy me, resorted to misrepresenting me to the leaders of the white race, several of whom, without proper investigation, also opposed me. My trial is a matter of history. I know I was not given a square deal because my indictment was the result of a frame-up among my political and business enemies. The temporary ruin of the Black Star Line, remember this is his ship, right? His ship line meant to bring Black Americans back to Africa. The temporary ruin of the Black Star Line in no way affected the larger work of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which now has 900 branches with an approximate membership of 6 million. That's really significant. Being black, I have committed an unpardonable offense against the very light-colored Negroes in America and the West Indies by making myself famous as a Negro leader of millions. In their view, no black man must rise above them. The Universal Negro Improvement Association has been misrepresented by my enemies. They have tried to make it appear that we are hostile to other races. This is absolutely false. We love all humanity. We believe in the purity of both races. It is cruel and dangerous to promote social equality, as certain black leaders do. The belief that black and white should get together would destroy the racial purity of both. We believe that the black people should have a country of their own where they should be given the fullest opportunity to develop politically, socially, and industrially. So one, what type of document is this? We said earlier an autobiography is what type? It's primary. When is it written? 1923. According to Garvey, what happened to the UNIA? Provide a quote, support your answer. I'm trying to find you here. So I'm looking for the word UNIA, or Universal Negro Improvement Association. This is one that could work, right? They scattered spies among the employees of the Black Star Line, right? So spies infiltrate. Employees start to be dishonest. So the FBI is infiltrating the UNIA. Misrepresentation, right? The UNIA was misrepresented. So all of these could work as quotes for number 2. 3, how does he explain why other African Americans turned against him? Where does he say that? So I'm looking for maybe African Americans. I'm going to guess it's here. Three, how does he explain why other African Americans turned against him? And I can infer, I can make a guess based here is that the white enemies, the FBI, enticed them, right? Possibly paying them, persuading them maybe through force. So here, being black, I have committed an unpardonable offense against the very light-colored Negroes in America and West Indies. I'm making myself as a Negro leader of millions. In their view, no black must rise above them. So he's a very dark-skinned, right, black man. I think here, this is the answer for number 3, right? He says that in their view, no black man must rise above them. A lot of lighter-skinned black Americans start to think that Garvey is trying to make himself superior to them, right? So that would be the answer. 4, why does he oppose the ideas of certain black leaders? I think this part races we believe. Yeah. So we believe in the purity of both races. It is so here he says we can't be racially equal and integrate with whites because it's cruel, it's dangerous, and they're going to destroy our racial purity. It's the only way we can maintain our dignity, I guess, and power. We believe black people should have a country of their own. So we can't be given the fullest opportunity to develop politically, socially, and industrially unless we're separate. These are some reasons why he opposes those leaders. All right. Thank you for listening and watching. Tomorrow we're going to use all these documents to write something about Garvey.